Hey guys, this is Fierce. Today we're going to go over soloing mid. Just like everything else in Dota, being a good solo mid player takes a lot of practice. It requires a lot of game knowledge as you must understand your hero's weaknesses and strengths, while at the same time understanding the opponent's strengths and weaknesses. When should you solo mid? You are playing a hero that will not get dominated mid, so you are going to be able to do something with that extra early experience and gold. Most of the time, it will be a good ganking hero. Notice how at the very start of the game, I slowed down the creep advancement by blocking their path with my hero. The end result is that I get a favorable starting position which is on top of my hill. What advantage does the hill give you? Well, for starters, if your opponent is harassing you, they will miss 25% of the time. Also note his positioning. If he wants to get last hits, he will have to stand in the river, which means he has extremely limited vision of you. Notice how when he's on top of his hill, he has complete vision of my hill. But as soon as he steps down into the river, he loses almost all vision of my hill. Standing in the river like this means you are susceptible to ganks from all sides. Compare this positioning to the Bloodseeker. He is very close to his tower, so he feels relatively safe. Remember, in the river dead, on your hill safe. In the river dead, on your hill safe. Okay, never mind. So naturally, you want to be able to freeze the lane like this over and over and over again. So how do you do this? Don't nuke the wave like this Death Prophet and don't auto-attack willy-nilly. You are trying to maintain an equilibrium, so if there are only 2 enemy melee creeps, you want to make sure your side only has 2 melee creeps too. If the enemy auto-attacks, then you auto-attack. If the enemy nukes the wave, then you nuke the wave. Well, Bloodseeker doesn't have a nuke, so he'll just have to auto-attack a few times. Sometimes you're going to have to tank the creeps, but don't be an idiot about it if there are too many creeps or if the enemy hero is there pounding on you. Denying is especially important in the first 6 minutes of the game, as it usually takes 6 minutes to get to level 6 and therefore your ultimate. So obviously, the more you deny in the first 6 minutes, the more likely it is that you will have your ultimate before the enemy hero. Let's watch this again. Notice how as soon as he steps down into the river, I go on him. He is far away from his tower, which means this should be a safe and guaranteed kill. This is carelessness on his part, but I also have the creeps on my hill, so he won't be able to get farm unless he steps into the river. Again, freezing the lane on your hill is very important. So let's talk about Bloodseeker for a bit. Notice how as soon as I get into the lane, I check his items and he has a Stout Shield, Quelling Blade, and Tangos. It's very important to check your opponent's starting item build as you want to know what you're up against. Right away I know I'm going to have trouble against him. My harassing will be greatly diminished by his Stout Shield, and last hitting against a melee hero with Quelling Blade as a ranged hero is really hard. He also has a passive that restores hit points on last hits, so he will be able to shrug off almost any kind of harass I dish out. These are the reasons why I completely raped that Death Prophet earlier. There was absolutely nothing she could do. Her best option was to just grab all the runes with a bottle and just hope to spam me out of the lane with her nuke. Understanding the hero matchup is incredibly important to winning or at least tying a lane. Not understanding a hero matchup is like picking a hard counter hero and then just playing really passive when you should be dominating the lane. Anyways, in this particular matchup, it is still a melee hero versus a ranged hero. Just because he is Bloodseeker doesn't mean I should not harass. If the enemy hero is at full hit points at all times, your allies are less likely to gank. I want you to watch this part very carefully. Do you see that melee creep at very low hit points? I'm going to use this melee creep as bait for extra harass. This is one of the most basic harassing techniques for a melee vs ranged hero matchup. He is now at half hit points, and if it was any other melee hero, he would play extra passive until he regens more hit points. But it's Bloodseeker and he goes up to get last hits, which means he will regain hit points. Let me ask you, did you notice anything else about that clip? Where are the creeps standing right now? Where are the creeps standing now? Remember, you want the creeps on your hill. How did I do that? You stand close to the enemy creeps and you auto-attack the enemy hero. This will draw creep aggro to you and then you just step backwards. You want to be careful about doing this too many times on any other hero, as early in the game, creeps can deal significant damage. But I'm playing Invoker and Quas gives me extra hit point regen, which means I'll be fine. Again, understanding the strength and weaknesses of your hero is the key to winning any game. So here we are, it just turned nighttime, which means we should both be at level 6 by now. I'm very scared of his rupture, so I want to burn his mana with EMP. I used the low hit point creep as bait and put down a very nicely placed EMP. If he moves forward, he will tank the tower. If he does anything else, he will still be hit by EMP. Notice how I check his mana pool before and after. He started with 170 and the next time I check he has 5. Notice where the creeps are again. Notice where his hero is. He's susceptible to ganks. Here comes Puck, he's definitely in trouble. Okay, so we cast all our spells and we kill him. Notice how I also have wards. Sometimes as solo mid, you're going to need wards. Get them before 6 minutes and have them placed after 6 minutes. Wards cost 200 gold. If you die, you lose gold and you will most likely buy a TP scroll. After buying a TP scroll and gold loss, I'm pretty sure that's at least 200 gold. Do yourself and your team a favor and buy one set of wards this game. Here's a matchup we haven't gone over yet. Ranged hero versus ranged hero. Here's the thing about ranged heroes though. Some heroes have really bad wind-up times before they attack and other heroes have nearly no wind-up time. Some heroes have attacks that have slow projectile speeds and other heroes have attacks that have fast projectile speeds. In this situation, the closer you stand to creeps, the less distance the projectile has to travel, which makes it easier to last hit. At the same time, this puts you at risk of getting harassed. When you have a clear advantage, you can also zone the enemy hero out of experience range. When you solo mid, you should try to determine the skill level of your opponent by their actions and their ability to last hit. This will help you understand the situation you are in and how aggressively or passively you should play. This tinker clearly understands his hero's strengths and pushes his advantage and proceeds to anally rape me and the rest of my team. So anyways, since my Invoker beat that Bloodseeker, Invoker must be the most OP hero. Here we go, I'm going to solo Tiny against Invoker. List off some of the advantages that Tiny has and some of his disadvantages. Here, I'll give you a few seconds. Are these the pros and cons you're thinking of? So right away, you know that you have low base armor in your melee. You're also very likely to solo against an Invoker with their lineup, so you should definitely buy a Stout Shield. You don't really need the Quelling Blade, but I got it anyways to guarantee easy last hitting. You know you're going to get harassed a lot, and you have a low mana pool, so you should get that bottle. So anyways, that Invoker harassed the shit out of me, but I managed to farm a bottle. It's time to get all the runes in the game and make this game a living hell for all your enemies. Generally, as a solo mid hero, you want to be a hero that can control the runes. Runes can lead to lane dominance or hero kills. Both are very important. So unload your spells and try to get some harassing. Bottle back up to full hit points and mana, and get the next rune. Obviously, if you have a bottle and you're able to get all the runes, you will have a huge advantage over your opponent. This is the #1 way to win solo mid. Grab all the runes and nuke the enemy hero out of the lane. Of course, you mix in some ganking and that's how you win the game. At some point before 8 minutes, you should buy yourself a TP scroll. It might save your life or a teammate's life. One common starting item build is 3 branches and tangos. This is called the fast bottle build. You will generally get your bottle before 2 minutes, so you will see people nuke the fuck out of their enemy with level 1 spells. They will then use their bottle to get back to full mana, and they will pick up the 2-minute rune to refill the bottle. On the right side are some typical ranged hero builds, with the left side being a melee hero build. Generally, you'll see people get 3 branches because you can convert it into a magic wand later. So let's review what we've learned this video. Obviously, you're going to try and start with the best suitable starting items. You're going to want the creep block and try your best to freeze the lane on your hill. You're going to want to immediately check your opponent's items, and generally you're looking for how much regen he bought to see if you have an advantage or disadvantage. You're then going to check out what the top and bottom lanes are and figure out which hero you're going to be ganked by the most. Anytime the creeps are at full hit points, your eyes should be on the minimap. Try your best to determine the opponent's skill level by their actions and last hitting abilities and adjust your play accordingly. Grab every rune you can, as it's the key to winning your lane and the game. Are your eyes on the minimap? They damn well better be. And most importantly, you need to gank for your team. Your main result after 10 minutes should be that you have around 35 to 45 creeps killed. You should also have a few heroes killed, and maybe you even destroyed a tower. So anyways, this is what happens when you let the opposing team control the runes. I got almost every rune that game and I snowballed out of control. And don't forget these helpful hints and tricks. Instead of denying the creep, you can use it as bait to harass. You can abuse creep aggro to draw the creeps up your hill. Sometimes you should buy a set of wards before 6 minutes, and you should have them placed before 8 minutes so you can grab the 8-minute rune. You should get a TP scroll before tower pushing begins. I usually get it before 8 minutes. Sometimes the enemy team will have the runes warded, in which case you'll need a Smoke of Deceit to effectively gank. And most importantly, you need to call missing if the enemy solo leaves the lane. I would generally type it in chat, use the in-game voice, and also ping. I assume that my teammates are retarded and I use all 3 means of communication. This is Fierce signing out, thank you for watching, and happy fragging.
purge the elements now.
You can keep your magic. I have laser beams.